All the pretty girls stand. All the pretty girls stand up. All the pretty boys stand up.
Pretty boys in the building.
Sway. This right here is my sway. Sway. All the girls are on me. Damn. Everybody pay attention. This right here is my pretty boy sway. 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 Girls on my rank. When I'm pretty, sway. Girls on my rank. When I'm pretty, sway. Pretty boy sway. Pretty boy sway. 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 Girls on my rank. When I'm pretty boy sway. Girls on my rank. When I'm pretty boy sway.
Soldier.
Get out the way. Pretty boy coming through.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another stream with Swaggle a very special stream tonight because we're bringing back the collector call-in show. If you guys happen to see the last time we did this, it was a New Year's show. We had it on the last day of 2023. A lot has happened since that time here in 2024, and I thought it was a very successful format, you know, just to invite people out there in the community onto the YouTube. And this is your guys' time. This is your guys' time to say, you know, what's on your mind. Say whatever you'd like within reason, you know, keeping it, let's call it PG-13 friendly here. You know, we have, you know, some youngins in the audience. We want to make it appropriate for them. But yeah, I thought that this was really, really fun. We can have any sort of conversation, you know, out there. We can talk about CGC. We can talk about Marvel and DC publishing. We could talk about the MCU. We could talk about Dune 2. Did you guys see Dune 2 this weekend? You know, we can talk about all different kinds of things. You know, this is your forum. See what's on the community's mind and, you know, just talk about everything going on in the comic book collecting market. Now, I have a link to the StreamYard in the description. If you guys want to hop on, all you got to do is click the link. You have to be on camera so that I can see your face and hold you accountable to what you actually say. You know, no funny business. You know, let's try to keep it respectful here. But yeah, if you want to hop on the stream, have a conversation, we can totally do that. Or maybe nobody is going to hop on tonight and I'll just have to, you know, make up topics for an hour or read what people are saying in the chat or tune into Heritage Auction and give commentary. I mean, there's some other topics that we can discuss. I have a lot of little talking points and things like that, but you know, it'd be better if people just chimed in. You know, that would be much better. But you know, we're gonna wait. We're gonna wait until, you know, people start signing in. We're gonna see if anyone wants to hop on. Again, link is in the description if you guys want to check it out. But let's see here. Let's see. Let's check in with people right now in the chat. Say hello as we get things rolling. Luke says, "Well, this will be fun. Didn't expect this. Is there a calendar in the house?" What do you mean, is there a calendar in the house? Like a live stream calendar? You know, I don't really have a set time that I do live shows. I tend to just do them when I have the opportunity to do them. I feel like a lot of them have been falling on the Sunday evenings just because it feels like, yeah, that's a good time to do it. You know, I'm not working on other stuff. People seem to be probably at their home hanging out, you know, so Sundays have kind of been the thing. We got GT Key Comic in the house. What's going on? Good to see you, man. Thanks so much for stopping by. Dragon Ball says, this will be interesting with CGC in conversation mix. Still say grade comics should be worth the same price, not separately on what company grades books. All companies grade books same, all of them good and bad. Yeah, well, Dragon Ball, I mean, if people want to talk about CGC, we can definitely have the conversation about CGC. That is definitely a topic that will always be highly contested, highly debated. I liked this video I did this past week where there was a kind of a viral post going around on a Facebook group with people talking about, you know, their most controversial opinions in comic books. And that was a really fun one to go through and go over because, you know, people feel certain ways, like yourself, you know, you feel like, hey, can't be charging more for certain comic books, but, you know, the market is the market, right? Like whatever things sell for is what they sell for. We got Beyond Wednesdays in the house. Brian McClay, good to see you, Brian. Thanks so much for stopping by. Appreciate you. We got Amazing Murphinator, a live event, but The Walking Dead is on. That's, you know what? I'm going to flash forward here down to what Bill said. They still make episodes of The Walking Dead. Bill, I'm with you. I had no idea that they still made The Walking Dead. Didn't they? Yeah. Didn't they end that? People still watch it? Didn't they had Fear the Walking Dead, right? That was another one going on. All right. Let me see what else is going. Who else is here? We got Cameron in the house. Let me do a couple chores and I'll hop on LOL. All right, Cam, we got somebody coming on. Yeah, feel free to hop on, guys. You know, otherwise I'm just gonna make up talking points here. Take a little sip of tea. We got Comic Ozzy in the house. We got Reef, the Sea Forever in the house. We got Jose in the house. Jose says, so what happens if the LCS dies for new comics? It's a good question. It's a good question. Something to discuss. I mean, yeah, one of the controversial opinions that somebody had was talking about how they felt like their controversial take was that they're not worried about LCSs going under. Like if they go under, like bye Felicia type of feeling. But that would be an interesting thing. I mean, I think that, you know, places like Borders, do they still have a Borders? You know, the Amazon bookstores or whatever would have to carry comic books. And actually, I think that that's probably been a big discussion in the industry and the business for a long time, is trying to get distribution to, other places like a Borders Books and Music, or like a, I don't know, what are the other mainstream, you know, Target, places like that. You know, I think if it were up to Marvel and DC, they probably don't even want to do floppy issues anymore. They probably just want to go straight to trades and get them in Target, or get them in Kmart or Walmart or whatever, you know, those types of chain places. So if LCS has died, I don't know, collections would go to dealers and new comics would maybe get put on the shelves of Target, but probably not. They probably would end up getting early trades put together, and then those would go to Target. But it would be interesting. I mean, the LCS does a lot. It's the lifeblood. We got Artistic Flavas in the house. Looking forward to the show. Thank you. Thank you. Eggplant Comics in the house. Where can I get a Swaggle House Comics brand flamethrower? It's a good idea. I should probably make that merchandise. You know, that would be a good one to do. Yeah, it's currently one of a kind. You know, that specific flamethrower. You know, it's a movie prop forever. You know, maybe it could go to Heritage Auctions and they could sell it in their film movie prop section going on. Oh, it looks like we got our first caller, ladies and gentlemen, hopping in the background. Metal Face, I see you, buddy. Are you, what do you think? You good? You need a little setup time? You good? All right, I'm going to bring you on. What's going on?
Hey, how's it going? Good to be on the show again.
Yeah, good to see you. Thanks for hopping in, you know, bailing me out of my have to just talk by myself for, you know.
No, I've been, I saw your, guess your promo, and I came up with a topic.
Oh, okay.
So I know people have been talking about the whole scam that's going on with CGC, and people are wondering, hey, should I keep sending to CGC, or should I go to CBCS? I didn't really buy into that until I saw this. Let me show you. So I recently got a CBCS.
Nice.
Lab.
Giving you the full screen here.
So I was reserving this just for the DC Universe logo.
Right.
Books. But you know what? I've seen a lot more in person, and I'm digging this case.
Yeah.
So I think because of the redesign, I think I'm going to be sending in, to be completely honest.
I'm kind of with you on that. Like I will say, you know, when they announced the new labels and when they came out, you know, I did my video on it and I said like, oh, hey, you know, they look pretty good. But kind of like your experience, like when I saw them in person and I actually held them and looked at them, I was like, actually, they look really, really good. Like I actually really like them.
If you compare them to the old ones.
Oh yeah, it's night and day.
I mean, this looks like, you know, back in the day, you go to Payless shoe store and you get a Payless pair of shoes. This is what this was to me. But now I think they've moved up the redesign. I mean, I highly recommend that members out there, if you guys are watching this and you guys were on the fence, I'm not going to try to influence you. I'm just going to say they look pretty good and they're extremely sturdy. So give it a try. Like, you know, I was going to stick to the DC Universe logo for this company. But I've been sitting on a bunch of books down there that I have ready to go get graded. I think I'm going to send some of them to CBCS now. I have 3 sets of Silver Age books, and I'm going to send those in. I have a Fantastic Four 48, 49, and 50 that just came back from the Comic Presser. Shout out to the Comic Presser.
Oh yeah, shout out to him.
Yeah, I know he was on your show too. So
yeah,
as soon as I saw his interview with you, that kind of sold me on sending my books to him.
So I was going to ask you that, and I'd love to hear what other people in the chat even think about this too, because I was going to say, like, if you had an expensive book and you already answered the question with like an FF48 and stuff, would you also still feel like I'm going to send it to CBCS? Like, there's kind of no qualms about you.
Well, I was on the fence, but I don't check the data as much as you do, but I have seen a couple of your videos and other people's videos where it seems like the market is starting to level out between CGC and CBCS. So, you know what? I think I'm going to go with CBCS on this one, on the 48, 49, 50, especially since they look incredible. I mean, look at this.
Yeah. I really do like, one of the things
Especially
I really about
this.
Totally. And I like the thing. I had a conversation. I was on a podcast actually last week that's not out yet, but we were talking about the new cases. And even though it's very similar to CGC and stuff, I really like that they kind of blend in on the wall. So like when I go into, before, and this is kind of a silly reason, but maybe everybody gets it, like just aesthetically, it bothered me to like look at a CBCS case next to a CGC one and have them mismatch on the labels. Yeah. And now like when I go into people's walls and stuff, like at comic shows, and like, it really does blend in. And now to me, it's like, oh yeah, they're kind of the same thing as far as like the aesthetics are concerned. And so I like that they look so similar to CGC.
Yeah. If you look at this on your CGC wall, in the past, I'm with you. It was a total combo breaker for sure.
Yeah. It totally stood out.
So yeah, I mean, I think because of the redesign, I think it's just for the redesign for me. It's not like the whole scandal thing that's going on. For me, it's purely the aesthetic.
Yeah.
I mean, these look amazing. And it's a huge step up from, at least from what they had before they did the redesign.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of interested in seeing what the data is now. I don't know if that's possible to pull. If anyone could do it, I'm sure it's you.
Yeah, so that one's a mystery. It's hard to figure out, like, and track, like, where.
Yeah. I'm
not even sure a lot of CBCS sales get logged. I mean, they do get logged into Go Collect, but they don't get like averaged in, but you can see the numbers. But that would be interesting. I think the best case scenarios, and there hasn't been one yet, but usually what ends up happening is an auction house like Heritage has a giant size X-Men 9.8 in a CGC and a 9.8 in a CBCS, and they sell back to back, and you literally see it in the same auction. But there hasn't been the perfect example of like both of them look great, both of them have, say, white pages, and it's the new CBCS label. I'm waiting for that one exact perfect situation to see what the gap is. I would assume there's probably going to be still a little bit of a gap, but maybe it would shrink. I mean, I don't know.
Speaking of aesthetics, was it a few weeks ago? I went to the that con out in Orange at some hotel. I forget what the name of it was. SoCalCon or SoCon or whatever it was.
Down at CalCon.
Yeah, you were there. I went and visited. I picked up a book from my good friends out there, the Blue Chip Comics. Shout out to the Blue Chip. they have I think it's a Batman #1. They have a Batman #1 in a
Yes.
CBCS case, and it looks amazing. They have that, and they have a couple of others, and I think that's what also sold me, seeing that in person, and then also getting these in hand. I bought these slabs from another YouTuber, Minhunter. He posted the video that he had these, and I was like, as soon as I saw the video, I hit him up and like, hey, James, can you sell these to me? I really want these because what I do hunt for are these mainly. It's not like the usual Hulk 181s or the ASM 300s.
Right.
These are truly my guilty pleasure. The DC Universe books. So he had them, and I immediately hit him up as soon as I saw the video. I'm like, hey, dude, you need to sell these to me. So, and then also seeing what Nico has out there at the Blue Chip, that Batman one in that case.
Hi, Daddy.
Hi. Sorry, my kids are over here.
Right.
They. I think that's what sold me too. So again, anyone who's on the fence, if you want to try it out, just so you have them in hand, send like a book that isn't that pricey, like a $150 book or whatever. Send it in, and then hold it and have it in hand, and then make the call on your own. But I'm hoping that whoever out there was on the fence, just by hearing this from another collector out there, I hope you guys try it out, because these cases are amazing. And also, I'm not a paid spokesman for CBCS, so it's just an average collector out there that's just trying to put the word out, see if anyone bites and they decide to go out and try something different.
I think that's good. I think you convinced me. I got to get a little skin in the game with it. I've never sent personally to CBCS, so I'm curious to experience. I mean, I like their label, but I'm curious to experience the turnaround time, customer service, which I've heard some people kind of complain a little bit about that end of it. But I do think like I want to try like a little, maybe just a small 5-book submission or something.
Yeah,
like that.
I've never tried it myself. It's always just been things that I've purchased.
Yeah.
But like you, I've read and heard the horror stories, but you get that same type of edge case scenario with CGC.
Totally.
Like you read about like, hey, they lost my book, or it got lost in transit or whatever. It happens with every service.
Right.
But I mean, again, like you said, try it out. I'm gonna send out some myself and see what the turnaround time is, and I'm kind of stoked to see what these Fantastic Four books look like in a CBCS case.
For sure. Yeah. Well, it definitely, I mean, report back. Let me know how it goes when you do.
Yeah. I do have a bunch of 90s newsstands that I bought from you and Matt on your last,
cool. Yeah.
So those just came back from getting pressed and cleaned. They got full pressed and cleaned from Key Issue Collector. He's another fantastic presser. I found him through Instagram. I mean, I find all the greats on Instagram. They all have, like the comic book presser. I would only so far I only send like Silver Age stuff that I find to them.
Right.
Because I've had great success with that type of book. But like 90s stuff, I've sent a lot of that stuff to Key Issue. And, I'm talking to him like, just like any average dude would talk to another guy. And I'm asking him these silly questions about pressing and cleaning.
Right.
And I'm like, hey, do you know how to do this? You know how to do that? And then he comes back at me with, well, I did help write the book on cleaning and pressing. And then he sends me a link to his book. And I'm like, oh man, I was talking to, it's like you're asking Shakespeare if he knows how to write poems. I felt like an idiot. I'm like, oh man, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to offend you. Right. But he's like, no, I just don't advertise that. But that just helped me like feel safe, and peace of mind that I had sending books to him, because he contributed to the book that pressers out there use. So
totally.
And this is all just from like, watching videos like the ones that you put out, just, looking at other social media outlets like Facebook, Instagram, mainly Instagram. Facebook is a cesspool of negativity. I don't want to go in there, but yeah, he's great at what he does. Obviously, because he wrote the book. So
Yeah.
shout
Couple
out.
questions for you. Twin wants to know how long was your turnaround time?
For what?
Your pressing and cleaning.
Oh, so if you go with a comic book presser, you could do like I think it's like a 4-week turnaround time. If you time it out right, so that they get it on a business day, so you don't lose out on the business day. So I'm like pretty meticulous when it comes to that. So
Smart.
if I want them to like get like a full week of 5 business days, I'll either overnight something or priority send something through UPS on a Thursday. So it's like Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So they get it on Monday. So they open it. So that's when the clock starts ticking. So if you opt for a 4-week turnaround time, you'll get like just factor in non-business days. It'll be about a month for the comic.
Good to know. Key Issue Collector. Shout out to Key Issue Collector. Go find him on
Key Issue
Instagram.
Collector. Yeah, I highly recommend Key Issue.
And shout out to Comic Doctor too.
Who?
Shout out to him too.
Oh,
Comic Doctor as well.
I'm sure if I'm sure if I send stuff to him, it'll turn out too. But Key Issue Collector, I sent him an ASM 238 newsstand that I felt could get a little bit more TLC. And I was communicating with him. I was like, hey, do you think you can, improve on this? And he's like, yeah, I'll see what I could do. So if you go on his Instagram page, check out one of his reel about the ASM 238 and look at the befores and afters. And I was blown away. I was like, no way you did this to. I mean, he's a magician. That's all I could say.
He wrote the book. He wrote the book.
Yeah, he wrote the book. I'm like, I asked Shakespeare to write me a poem.
Yeah. One of these days, I just hope that I could be as good at something where I can literally say I wrote the book on it. That would be.
Well, you've got comic books back there that you wrote from your story.
That's true. I wrote the book on there.
So technically, essentially, you wrote a book.
True.
But again, glad to be on the show again. Thanks for having me, and I look forward to more data pools that you're going to present.
Yeah, appreciate you coming on, Metal Face. Good call, good talk. CBCS guys, got to try it. All right, we'll report back, Metal Face. Let me know how that submission goes, and I'll definitely have to do a submission myself to CBCS and make a video about it.
Cool. Yeah, let me know. Hopefully, you'll post it on the channel when you get your books back, if you do it.
Yeah, we'll do. All right, sir. Metal Face, first caller of the show. Appreciate him stopping in. I'm sure there's other people in the chat that have things that they want to talk about. Hop on. Don't be shy. It's funny. I did this because I was watching a lot of sports YouTube because, I've made jokes about Kyle Shanahan needing to run the ball in the Super Bowl. And I've been consuming a lot of 49ers YouTube content. They have call-in shows all the time. Sports talk radio makes so much sense. And I was like, hey, we should do that with comic books. But I think sports people need to rant harder about their teams in general. You know what I mean? Like, I think that they feel the need to hop on and give people their thoughts about how the coach should run the ball. Comic book collectors, maybe not so much. I mean, well, when you're ranting about CGC, you can rant about CGC. Everyone feels a way about CGC. But yeah, it's funny. Anyways, that's what, link is in the description, guys. If you guys want to hop on, do a call, we can talk about other things. Click says, has the 9.9 pre-screen changed any prices? Has the 9.9 pre-screen changed any prices? Well, the 9.9 pre-screen is not actually a real thing. It was just talked about as a hypothetical, which I think was kind of, a funny part of the whole, situation was that Matt Nelson just said that 9.9 is something that they've talked about. And then, like we all lost our mind. I guess, comic book collectors do like to rant from time to time, but everybody lost their mind on it. And it's not actually a thing yet. Who knows if it's actually ever going to be a thing? But I will say that in the wake of that, coupled with the wake of everything going on with the CGC situation and all that, CGC actually lowered their prices. And I don't know how you guys feel, but I feel like lowering prices was a clear indication that submissions must be down, right? Like they must be pulling in less money. I mean, maybe it was a little bit of a PR thing to acknowledge that they had kind of messed up with, you know, the reholder situation and all that. But I don't know. I kind of feel like they really would only lower the prices if they felt like they weren't getting as many submissions as they should be getting as a business. So that's something that's really interesting, you know, that, and I guess it's could be a tail wagging the dog thing, because maybe they were getting less submissions because people were less trusting of them as a grading company. Although, is that something that they would be able to tabulate for their quarter earnings so quickly? It kind of feels like this is something that they've been dealing with for 3 or 4 months. Although who knows what the chain of command is over there? Like, I mean, how quickly can they lower the prices? Maybe literally Matt can just do it on a day, like any day, like of the week, he can just lower it. But I kind of think it's probably a bigger discussion, you know, with everything going on. Morgan says, at MegaCon, the CGC's mission booth was a ghost town. Really? That's interesting, Morgan. That's very interesting. A ghost town. How was MegaCon, by the way? What do you guys, anyone else go out to MegaCon? You know, any stories, any variants that took over? What's going on? Let me know in the chat. All right. I see someone else joining here. I see a Chuck. Good to go, sir. All right. Chuck, what's going on?
Hi, it's nice to meet you. How's it going?
Likewise. How you doing?
I'm
Thanks for
doing
hopping on.
great. So it's interesting hearing you talk about a con, because we had a smaller con here in the North Carolina area this weekend. It was Durham Con, and it was packed.
Really?
Now, we didn't have any CGC people there because it's just Durham Con. So, you know,
Right.
They'll all show up at Heroes in a couple of weeks. So, but I got to tell you, for an industry that is supposedly dying, there were a whole lot of people who didn't get the message. And, you know, I don't know how much they were buying because they were doing a lot of cosplaying and, you know, all these other things too. But it was really, really busy. And
that's good to hear.
You know, it was good to see. Now, I will also say we had the comic book presser was there, and he was taking submissions for press. That's the main reason I went. Right. And he reported being very, very busy with lots of submissions that are going to go off to various sundry grading companies. So
interesting. So do you feel like, is this a show that you've gone to like many times before? Yeah,
I pop into it. It's one of the regional ones that show up here around here.
Right.
You know, it's not like the Raleigh Comic Book Convention one, which happens quarterly, which is an old school, you know, old guys, long boxes, lots of people digging, you know, no pop culture, no cosplaying, just, you know, long boxes and comics.
Right.
So
you felt like, go ahead.
Oh,
you felt like this year, in comparison to other years, do you feel like this year was that much more busy?
I think it was just as busy as I've seen it the last 2 or 3 years. It's been consistently busy. So,
okay, got it.
Yeah.
What's your feeling like? I mean, you mentioned you don't know if people were buying, but like demo wise, was it like people were enthused? Like, what was your pulse check on it?
They were very, very enthusiastic, and there were lots of families there. And that's what was really neat. Mm-hmm. We saw lots of parents with kids there. You know, the kids were dressed up, you know, were excited about being at the con. The parents were excited about being at the con. We saw people digging together, you know, which was a good thing to see. You know, it's always nice when you hear an 11-year-old be able to recognize Neil Adams' artwork. It means there is hope for it. I will say though, I do have one thing I'd like to mention as a pet peeve, and it's an industry pet peeve that maybe others are dealing with. I did deal with a guy there who I got a wall book from him. I think I've got it over here somewhere, and he wouldn't give me a grade on it. And I looked at him. I said, "What do you mean you can't grade?" He said, "I can't grade." And so, and this was the book. So, I mean, sorry for the glare. Let me
Oh,
get
that's all right. Let's see it. We'll full screen here.
Yeah.
Chili Willy.
Right. So, not a big book, but it was just funny. And I guess this is a pet peeve of mine is why are you standing on the other side of the counter if you say you can't grade?
Totally.
And, his response was, well, I'm not a professional grader. And I said, well, neither am I, but I can tell the difference between a near mint and a fine.
Yeah. The not a professional grader. I feel like that should be a meme kind of in our hobby. It's like, I'm not asking you to be a professional grader, but if you could give me a ballpark here, it would help.
Yeah. Give me an idea so I can think about the price on the back and determine whether or not it's a decent price.
Yeah.
And yeah, I noticed Reef making the comment there in the in there. His claim was that he wasn't trained as a grader, that only the guys back at the store were trained graders, but that doesn't smell. That doesn't pass the smell test. So
Do you think that it's like I'm just trying to like protect myself because I don't want you to complain, or is it genuinely coming from a place of, oh, I just don't know and I'm kind of a novice at this? Or is it something?
I took it more as the first, with a little bit of, we're not going to really be honest about what we think the book is because we don't want you to then be able to challenge the price. Now, I will say, in looking at this, the book was about what I eyeballed it at. So, I mean, and I'm not upset with the purchase, by the way. So don't.
You obviously ended up buying it, but
right. But I have some serious issues with somebody giving me that line of nonsense, because if you can't grade a book, why are you selling books?
It makes you wonder.
Yeah.
It honestly, it makes you wonder. I mean, I'm with you on that. I do think that is that's a good pet peeve. That's a good one. That is something that I feel is also very frustrating, where it's like, what do you mean you can't give me a ballpark figure and stuff? Right. And then you're putting the onus on me and I have to like grade it myself and take a look. And it's just, it's so much effort, when it doesn't have to be. Like, I'm not going to get mad at you.
And maybe I'm being a cynic because I've had too many deals go sideways on me in my time in collecting. But when you give me that answer, it feels like you're trying to hide something. And and yes, someone made a comment about always looking through the book. He let me open it up and look inside of it. So it wasn't like, but the answer still struck me as just really off. And it did not make me feel any more willing to paw through the rest of his long boxes.
Yeah. I kind of would be with you on that one.
Yeah.
Well, Chuck, thanks so much for hopping on. It's good to know that the shows in North Carolina are good and popping. That's good to know. I feel like we're kind of like starting to ramp into some cons, when we get into summertime months and stuff. It's always very interesting. So it's good to know that there's a fervor, at least out there where you're at.
Well, and Lynn Anderson's quarterly con here in Raleigh will be showing up in April. And then of course we have Heroes Con in Charlotte in June. So
Heroes is on my list to go to.
It's a great con, and we're very fortunate here. We have a strong community in this area. But like I said, I laugh when all the people tell me that comics is dying, and then I go to this and I see people of all different backgrounds with their kids, dressing up and enjoying it and buying stuff. It doesn't look dead to me.
Yeah. Last thing before I let you go, I see people in the background here, but to your point, I totally agree with you. It's an interesting thing. I did a video talking about my YouTube analytics and who watches my show. And yes, it skews older, but I have the same experience like you. When I go to the cons and stuff, I see so many kids and family. It's like, and I'm like, where are these people? They're all here. It's pretty encouraging, I think, to see all that.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much.
Chuck, thanks so much for hopping on, man. Appreciate you.
Take care.
See ya. Shout out to Chuck. Yeah, I mean, Comic Cons, man. They're still popping, still going on. What cons are you guys going to? I see you, Rob, in the background here. I'm gonna bring you on. Are you good?
What's up, buddy?
There he is, the man, Rob, Neo Cards and Comics, in the house with a different background. Wait.
Yeah, I'm upstairs. I'm on my laptop.
Oh, look at you with Gloomhaven.
Yeah,
Gloomhaven's
Board Game
legit.
shelf is behind me.
Yeah, those are some legit games right there.
Yeah. Yeah, I was upstairs watching TV, and I was like, I was flipped over to YouTube to see what was going on, and I saw you doing call, and I was like, I'll give Swags a quick little buzz.
Who watches TV anymore? I don't.
I was watching sports. So I was watching the Cavs game.
Okay.
So
yeah.
What? So wait, are we getting 100% confirmation that you're coming to Heroes Con in June? Is that what's happening, or it's just on your list to get there like one decade?
It's on. I got 2 like need to go on my list maybe this year, and that's just New York Comic Con and Heroes. Like I want to get out to one of them. So
well, I should be.
I'm leaning a little more.
Did I lose you? Am I lagging or is Swags lagging?
Woes. Am I back?
Okay, you're lagging. All right, I thought it was me. I was like, oh no.
I'm back.
I was saying, I'll be at both those, so maybe we'll actually finally cross paths in person for once.
Yeah, that would be awesome, actually.
At least that's the plan. We haven't booked anything yet, but we're planning on both Heroes and New York.
Yeah. So Rob, I feel like what is there to talk about these days? You know, like now that CGC stuff has died down, I'm like, I got to go over to your channel to learn about sports cards drama. You know.
Well, I mean, we have grading companies buying out other grading companies.
I know. I'm like, this is so exciting. You know, I wish CBCS would buy out PGX or something crazy, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
well, the question that I had for you was because I follow it pretty closely, but you're in the weeds a little bit more. So, like, other than the CGC boards and comment sections, do we not care that CGC had all the nonsense like 2 months ago? Are we already in the we forgot about that phase? Let's send some books to CGC and buy blue labels again?
I'm pretty like, listen, I don't know where people are at with it. You know, maybe people in the chat can you know, say where they're at with it, but I feel like we're definitely in the I'm over it phase. You know, the community, like nobody cares, everyone's forgotten. Back to CGC. Pulps are really hot right now. You know, at least in the vintage collecting side, a lot of people sending in pulps, and that's clearly a CGC thing. But yeah, I mean, nobody cares. You know, Dotson, we got Dotson here, and nobody cares. Like, you know, it's like the whole meme. But I feel like maybe it's because we haven't quite heard anything. You know, I had Paul on the channel, who you know very well, and the hobby lawyer for you guys listening, and he was talking about you know, doing follow-ups to it when he like learns about stuff, but there's nothing really to report on yet, so we'll have to see. You know, I think people don't really care.
And I kind of feel like no one's really talking. I mean, like I said, the CGC boards will never let it die, and the comment section will always bring it up. But
CGC boards are still popping.
Yeah. They're still doing good work over there. Like I'm not like hating on them at all. Like there's still some interesting stuff popping up on there. I check in on that thread every once in a while, but it just feels like what's CGC's motivation to like bring anything else up right now? Because it's like, oh, cool, guys. They're starting to forget about it. This is great.
Yeah.
It's going exactly as we planned.
Yeah. I feel like the letter that the CEO put out was kind of like this is the end, guys. Like I'm going to put a pin in this one here, like, and signing off, you know, and that was kind of it. But I don't know. I feel like, you know, people quickly forget, and they're ready. You know, the tinder is still in the fireplace. I feel like all it takes is one, here's the next thing, and then everyone will remember again. But I have to imagine that as far as like people feeling iffy about submissions and stuff, I mean, I think people are over that, right? Like they're like, whatever.
I mean, ultimately what it boils down to is I have this piece of paper. I want it put in a piece of plastic to make it worth more money. Yeah. And this company makes it worth more money than the other company. So I guess I'm just going to send it there.
100%. Yeah. Like it doesn't need to be overthought. It's like, and you're not wrong to do it. If you sell comic books and you want to get the max value out of it, I mean, you're still right to send it to CGC. So do what you got to do.
Have you ever done like a deep dive or like just a video on like, this is what this sells for in a CGC 9.8 versus this what this sells for in like a CBCS 9.8, and like did anything, like was there like a minute in like December or January where it was like oh no, we're right back to normal again?
I haven't done anything as extensive as that. That sounds like it'd be a good project to like continue to follow to see like if there's anything ever changes. What I have done is the videos where, say there's an auction and like 2 giant size X-Men's like sell back to back and they're the same grade and everything. Like there you can kind of see like the difference because it's basically the same people that are watching
Same
it.
buying market, same time.
Yeah. But I've never found a perfect example where like the books are perfectly the same. Like I've seen one where it's like, oh, this is a 7.5 and this is a 7.0. And then there's one where it's like, yeah, it's a 7.5, but this one has off-white to white pages, and this one had white pages.
Maybe the color's bad, or maybe the wrap's
bad.
or
the color's not quite as saturated, or it doesn't have the newest CBCS label. So I'm still waiting for like, no excuses. Here it is, the perfect comp. They're the same saturation. Like the books look good. There's no spine ticks and stuff like that, and that would be interesting to see.
You mentioned it earlier about the grading company buying stuff out, and that doesn't directly affect you guys. And for the chat that doesn't know what I'm talking about, PSA, Collectors Universe, PSA's parent company, Collectors Universe, bought SGC, which was the distant number 2 in card grading. I mean, it was number 2, but they were pretty far back. So now the speculation is if Fanatics wants to enter, their only likely buyout target would be Beckett. Because there's not anyone else really left. The next biggest card grader is CGC, and CGC is a massive corporation, so they're not like Fanatics isn't going to be able to purchase them. Whereas Beckett's part of a private equity firm. It's a little bit complicated, but they're still, for the most part, they're kind of like own little one-off thing. So I guess the long-term tail on that could be if Fanatics went after Beckett and ended up buying Beckett, what would that mean for CBCS, I wonder? Like, because I don't know that they would want to get into the comic book business. That's not their thing at all.
Yeah.
So would they spin it, or would they just be like, well, we don't need, I mean, it's Fanatics. They have like bajillion dollars. You know, they could just be like, nah, and just toss it to the side and not even care.
It seems like it would go by the way of like a lot of like acquisition stuff. Like they'd say, hey, you guys can continue to operate with like some autonomy. Just like keep doing your thing. You're fine for now. But then like you'll never get any resources, or like at a certain point, if you're not their priority, like you're eventually going to die. So it probably would be a long-term bad thing for them, but a short-term business as usual. That would be my guess. But it's like we need more grading competition. If only we had other companies that wanted to come into the comic book space.
There was only a large collectors base universe that wanted to get into that grades everything else except comics.
Yeah, if there was just something with, you know, the reputation and the power and the experience and the name brand that wanted to do something like that, that'd be cool to see.
Yeah, but there's an interesting angle. Like, I know it doesn't directly affect you guys, but there is an interesting angle there that, you know, this puts Beckett as the next prime candidate to get sold, and what would happen to CBCS in a transaction like that, depending on who's buying them.
Yeah,
because what you just described about a company just basically letting them sit there and flounder and not really do anything is pretty much just what CBCS is doing now already, isn't it? So that's part of it, of course.
Right. Well, we'll have to see. We'll have to see.
Wild time.
Anything else, Rob? What's going on with the channel? Anything interesting going on? If you guys don't know, go subscribe to Neo Cards and Comics. I mean, you got to check out Rob's channel. A lot of stuff going on in the card world.
It's been busy the last. I mean, that news kind of blew everything up. Like, you know, that was a pretty major acquisition. Like the major player. That, to put it in comic book terms, it would be like CGC buying CBCS. Like, that's the equivalent.
Right.
Like that's the comic book equivalent if tomorrow CGC bought CBCS. So
yeah, that'd be huge. What are people? Are people like like, are the SGC fans just crying? Is everyone cracking out their slabs? Like, what's kind of the feeling right now?
So the party line is that they're going to keep them as independent companies, but no one's. Some people are buying that. A lot of people are like really side eyeing that of like, sure you are, for maybe like a year or two. The SGC loyalists are not thrilled because a lot of SGC's backing was kind of built on the I don't want to deal with the evil empire. Kind of like a lot of like probably hardcore CBCS people are like, no, I am never a CGC person. And there's a lot of PSA burn them for whatever reason at some point along the line. And their next best option was SGC. And one of SGC's claim to fame was like amazing customer service, which they do have. They're a great company to like work with in that regard. So those people are kind of like, oh no, like they're already like not thrilled with the idea of they didn't want to give PSA their money. PSA doesn't directly own them, but Collectors Universe does, which is really just all the same thing. So they're in a very weird spot with nowhere left to turn. There's some speculation that maybe CGC cards could actually be a slight winner here as like the next best option, because Beckett's still not really Beckett's Beckett for the same reasons that CBCS is CBCS. Yeah. So there's a lot of weird stuff with those angles.
Is there this feeling like, or even for yourself, if you have an SGC card, are you like, I'm cracking this out, I'm sending it to PSA, or I'm sending this to CGC now? Is there like that, people that are leaving kind of?
Well, there's this notion people are getting their hopes and dreams in that if the companies if SGC just goes away, that you would just be able to take an SGC 10 and magically send it in the PSA and it would become a PSA 10. But I think that's very wishful thinking. The two companies have different grading standards. Like they look at, grading a card's grading a card, but they do kind of look at things a little slightly differently. Like, PSA is a little looser on centering. PSA likes eye appeal a little bit more. Like there's just some weird things that they do on the edge. So I think they would probably regrade it, but maybe with a lenient eye. But I think it's a mistake to be like all these SGC 10s are magically going to be PSA 10s. And SGC, they have a 9.5 grade, which PSA doesn't. So it's like, what happens to all those?
Yeah.
Like those would have to be regraded because they just can't all of a sudden just become 10s. Or 9s. You can't drop them down to a 9 either. So they'd all have to be looked at.
Right.
So,
do you think has it slowed down the secondary market on SGC slabs? Like more?
It's too soon to say. There's kind of like a long tail on that stuff. Like even in the comic book side, sometimes it takes, especially going up, you see the price changes instantly. Going down, you kind of got to you got to wait out auctions. You got to kind of see how stuff goes. So I think it's going to take probably at least a few weeks to see. And I think a lot of it's going to come down to I think it will hurt it a little bit because at some point there's a percentage of consumer confidence that's just like, now there's an unknown. So that's immediately going to add a certain percentage of people that are like, I'm just not going to mess with that. It's probably going to be fine, but I don't want the headache if it is going to be a problem. So if you even just knock off 15% of your buyer pool, that would have an impact on secondary market prices.
Right. Well, we'll have to see what happens. And everyone's going to have to subscribe to Rob and Neo Cards and Comics to find out, because I'm sure you'll tell everybody what's going on in the secondary market.
Yep. We'll have to team up again for another chit chat sometime soon.
Oh, absolutely. All right, Rob. Well, thanks again for hopping on.
Yep.
Have a good evening.
See you in June in Charlotte, North Carolina, in person, or New York later in the
later. We'll see you in June when you're in North Carolina.
And when I'm calling into your call-in show from Heroes Con.
Yeah.
All right,
sir. Thank you so much. See ya. All right. I see you, Caleb. I see you, Cam. Appreciate you waiting, but we're gonna go Caleb first because he was there earlier. Thanks again, Rob, for hopping on. But Caleb, good to go, sir? All right. Caleb, what's going on, man?
How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for hopping on. It's nice to meet you.
Absolutely. Been a big fan for a long time. They say, what do they say? Was it long time listener, first time caller?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It works perfectly for the call-in show format.
Exactly. Actually, when you said, you've been listening to a lot of sports radio, I totally echo that. I think it's a great idea for the comic space.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad.
Absolutely.
Well, what do you got? What's on your mind? What's what's going on in your comic world right now?
Yeah. So, little background just for a second. So I have been like aware of the comic space for a long time. I, like, grew up reading comics as a kid, but wasn't really in the hobby as we, kind of consider it. And, about 10 years ago, I started, when I was in college, I started reading comics, like brand new issues off the wall, but still wasn't really aware of like keys or, market grading, stuff like that. And then about 5 years ago, I really started moving into that space a little bit more. And like, it's a huge hobby for me, but my like number one main hobby that I love to do is just like make money. I know that sounds funny, but like I love making deals with people. I
Yeah.
love anything like side hustles and stuff. I drive for Uber. I get a little bit into sports cards and stuff. And that's kind of where I wanted to go with this, because the sports card market or hobby, I guess, is new to me in the last like 6 months. And it is overwhelming to me. And I'm going to speak just my experience. I live in Knoxville, Tennessee, East Tennessee. The disparity between and I'm talking ages, because your video recently like sparked something in me. And it was a video, because I've considered doing YouTube before. I don't currently, but like the one video idea I have written down, like scripted, is about the ages of those hobby communities. And over the past 6 months, I've started delving into, football cards, baseball cards, stuff like that, going to local card shows and stuff. And at least in East Tennessee, it's a massive disparity. So I've done some comic book dealing. So last year I did my first show, and at this point I think I've done 3 or 4 shows as a comic vendor. And comics are really where my heart is. And man, everyone who comes up, and I know you said, in your area you see some young folks there, but for us, it's all older, older folks. And when you made your video talking about the demographics of people watching your videos, I like that hit for me. I was like, I'm 31. Everyone buying comics from me is older than me. So I went to a football card, sports card show the other day. And like, I'm not kidding when I say 50% of the kids or people in there are under 20. You know what I mean? Like, and even younger, like some of the vendors, I saw a 12-year-old kid play serious hardball with a guy probably 4 times his age. And I'm talking like a deal for cards in the hundreds of dollars. He wasn't like, hey, I want 10, give me 5. Like, he was like pushing this guy for hundreds of dollars of discounts. And that's wild to me. Like, so I started thinking, and that's kind of what made me script out like this video I'd love to make one day. But like, why does that hobby skew younger? And I have a couple ideas, but I wanted to get your take. Like, why do you think that there's such a disparity in the age gaps? Because to me, sports cards, like when someone first says, hey, football cards, to me, that I think that's so old school. I'm like, oh, that's been around forever. Sports cards, baseball cards, And I mean, there are kids, like legitimately kids, who carry around these like Zion cases with thousands of dollars of slabbed cards. And why don't we have that in comics? And what can we do to try to, because I do fear, like, not for the hobby, like I'm sure, comic books will continue on, but there is some degree of like, it doesn't feel like there's as many new collectors and, new kids. I don't see kids with boxes and boxes of books, making deals.
Yeah.
So like, what can we do to try to get those kids into comics? And do you feel the same way?
Yeah, I mean, I think everything you said is at least anecdotally true, if not clearly true. Like it definitely feels like the sports card market has a lot more kids. And I don't know what it is, other than if I'm just going to guess, like it feels like sports cards just has a better like ecosystem to appeal to like younger kids, at least getting them on board. Because one, I think cards are just easier for kids to like consume and play with, as opposed to like have to open a thing and read. I don't know. I'm just shooting from the hip here, but I think that that's maybe one element. I think the system of like growing up playing little league baseball and like soccer and stuff, like there's more of this element of like sports cards being little tchotchke gifts and stuff in these types of team things. So I just feel like every kid gets cards put in their face. And so they're like a little more accustomed to it. Right. Whereas with comic books, maybe that was once the case, like for older generations where like comic books was more a normal thing. Like people used to go to like the, Rite Aid or CVS or whatever, and just be able to buy it like off the rack. And now you have to go to like a very specific specialty store called an LCS to go buy a comic book. So like maybe it's that element that doesn't get shoved in kids' faces as much.
Yeah.
So they're not as used to it. And now a lot of how they get their superhero fix comes by way of like, okay, like they watch the cartoon, like they have Spider-Man pajama pants, but like it just doesn't translate to like buying a comic book or
Right.
like whatever that is. And I don't really know like what the solve is, other than I think that Marvel and DC publishing have to like view acquisition of the youth as like part of their business model. But I fear for the publishing side, because as someone who's an outsider, just looking in, not knowing really what happens in that building, Marvel as a corporation, I don't think that they care that much about their publishing side anymore. Like, I think they just kind of have it as like, yeah, this is something that we kind of do, and maybe it's somewhat profitable, and you know, it's a great testing ground for us to try ideas. But really, they're like invested in like Captain America Target T-shirts and like, you know, little, I don't know, branded slippers for kids and stuff.
Mystery bags of like backpack charms.
Yeah, backpack. Yeah. And that's how they view like, oh, we just need to get the kids to buy the superhero stuff there.
Right.
We don't need to get them in the system via the comic book medium anymore.
Right.
So
you make a great point too there, because you said that, you know, you brought up Target and some of that earlier when I was listening. I actually think that's a great point, because Target sells football cards. They have a huge card system, right? They got Pokemon, they sell all that. But Target doesn't sell like a newsstand, and I don't mean newsstand comics, but you know what I mean. They don't have like an old rack of comic books like a lot of stores used to. And maybe that's it, because honestly, football cards, like if you know a little bit about the card hobby, you've got your retail product, which you're picking up at Target, at Walmart, etc. But then you've got your hobby products, and those have greater pull rates for autographs and stuff like that. And it's kind of like the gateway drug, because all kids are with their mom at Target, and they're like, can I go look at these cards? And they pull a pack of $10 pack of cards off there. And then they, you know, start talking to friends, or they start researching on the internet, and they're like, why can't I get these autographs? And I'm like, well, you see, it's not in the retail packs. You've got to go to your local card shop. So maybe, like, to be honest, I mean, maybe putting some fresh issues in Target could do a little bit more for the visibility. I don't know.
Yeah. I think like, you know, they have those, what do you call it? Like the little kids books. And I'm sure people in the chat know, like, you know, like you see the kids book and it has like the golden binding, and it's like, that's what they sell. Like, so you can go like find a Spider-Man, whatever that book is, inside the Target aisle or like the Target section, you know, but like you can't buy the comic book. But like you said, you know, they do still sell some card stuff in there. And so I don't know, maybe it's just there's a medium gap there that, again, like the cards are just easier, and maybe the dopamine of kids like opening packs is just more fun for them. And so there's just that element to it. But yeah, it's a big thing. I think like I always get the sense too, when the guy was talking about comic book shows and seeing families there and kids and everything like that. And to me, I think so many of the issues are like a top down thing, where I just wish the publishing companies did better job nurturing, you know, fostering sort of the families and the kids and stuff, and like did a little more education, you know, and teaching them about comic books. Like, I think like they should have on their Marvel YouTube channel, like, instead of it just being, hey, here's the next trailer for the Deadpool movie, it's like you can have little like content pieces that are, hey, here's the first appearance of Spider-Man, and you have like a thing of AF-15, because like the kids like need to watch this stuff, or like they have like a little YouTube channel that for kids, for Marvel, that teaches them about comic books. And you really need to make all these things if you're thinking like decades in the future and stuff. And
so I was thinking that too, when it comes to the publishing side, like that's part of where I think one of my biggest issues in this space comes from, because I do think there are things we can do. Like, I consider myself a very fledgling dealer, right? I think there are things that I can do to help make things more engaging. I'm doing a show on Saturday, and one of my ideas is I'm going to have a mystery pull box. I'm going to say, here's a short box of comics. Hey, because kids, like you said, that dopamine hit, it's like opening a pack of cards. I'm going to say, hey guys, there are 5 comic books in this short box that are worth at least like $30, right? And I'm only charging you $2 to put your hand in there. You know what I mean? And the rest of maybe dollar books, or maybe other, you know, sorted minor keys or whatever. But I'm trying to figure out what are the one-to-one ways that I can translate the clear success of the sports card market and get kids into the comic books. Because like you say, you get families coming to comic book show, but you know who's buying? It's not the kids, it's the dad. The dad's
Yeah.
the one sorting through my boxes, and then the kids are like looking around or, you know, on their phone. And to that end, like I also, like I said, I'd like to do YouTube at some point. And I do think like it'd be cool to make the kind of content that is more similar to some of these, like if you're familiar with Card Collector 2 and some of their videos, like I do think that there's a point, and I'm sorry, I'm going to rant for a second. Like
Way.
when it comes to the collector, you know, community, I think we sometimes do a poor job of like engaging with the kids. Like I've seen other, and I'm not naming names or pointing fingers, but like sometimes you see dealers who are just like they're there to make their dollar on their books, and I'm like, when a kid comes up and says, "Do you want to trade?" Like that's a huge thing in the sports card community is trading. Imagine we had a comic book trade night and people brought their stuff, and you know what that means? It means that maybe we have to slab more books. And I don't want to get on never slabbers, but like maybe we take a, if you don't mind me showing, like this is a decent book, right? But this is only worth about $100. This is a, you know, a CGC 9.2. And I have an affinity for 9.2 because it's my birthday, September 2nd. And that's what I collect personally. So, but like to have something like this, if people say, oh, well, it's not a 9.8. Well, big deal. If a kid comes to me with $80 in books and he's like, I really like that. Why don't we do a favor for the kids and for the community and be like, here, you know what I mean? Why don't we slab more books that maybe aren't the biggest profit margin? Maybe after slabbing, we're only going to be making, you know, we look at it and we give it a grade. You know, we do the best we can. We grade it ourselves and we say, hey, this is not a 9.8.
Yeah.
Slab it up. Like, get these kids involved because slabs are another ubiquitous thing in the sports card community.
Yeah.
Not saying everyone does them, but like it's much more common, I think, in that community. So if we're going to try to get the kids involved here, like we live in a side culture. We live in a side hustle kind of culture, I think. And I think that what's these kids are making money for themselves. That 12-year-old I said, like he's probably pocketing a lot of that money. I doubt his dad's like, his dad was there with him, but he sees, hey, this is my kid's business. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, that's really cool. So like, instead of just looking at this and being like, now this is the first appearance of Mr. Sinister, look at this and be like, that's $100. You know what I mean? That's value. There's a value we assign to this at, you know, as a community. And we get those kids involved and say like, hey, this is not just a book. It's a chip. You know what I mean? You can trade with this. You can make money out of this. And I think if we get more kids who want to become a dealer, you know what I mean? I think that's the coolest thing in the world. But I think that's the direction the hobby is going to evolve if kids are going to get involved. Because I don't think kids are going to sit down and be like, wow, this book is from 1978. Like, you know, they're not going to pour through it like that. We live in this social media side culture, you know, era right now, for better or for worse. And I think we need to play to that as a collector community to get the kids involved. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I think there's an allergy for sure with the grading stuff, with the money aspect, the selling stuff. A lot of people in the collecting hobby don't like it. There's arguments to be made because like when you slab a card, you know, you're not taking away anything. You can still see the front and the back.
Right.
Slab a comic book technically.
And I understand that for sure. So that's a good point.
There's those aspects, but like you said, I mean, I've met kids too, where it's like kids have come up to me and be like, oh, I love you. Like 8-year-old kid came up to me. It's like, I love your videos. Like I learned from it. And I sold, you know, all these Rhino books to buy, you know, ASM 15 or like Craven or something. It was just like, I was like, damn, like,
that's
that? Like, you know, but he, you know, like you said, I think kids can get involved in it. Yes, there's stories, there's art, there's comics themselves to appreciate, but you know, it's also, especially now, there's so much screens, like it's a fun thing for them to do. Like, hey, get some social skills, like interact, like learn, you know, negotiation, like, you know,
for sure.
People enjoy hunting, you know, all these experiences that I think are really fun for the hobby too. And that has to be fostered, like you said. And dealers, they gotta, you know, kiss babies and shake hands and be a little more like, you know, welcoming, which, you know, if we all think of like the Simpsons,
and I don't mean to critique that whole community per se, you know what I mean? But like, I do see, like, I was a kid once in the hobby, not so long ago. And I didn't understand keys. I didn't understand this, but I loved to go into a comic book shop. And I was met with a lot of dismissive looks and just like, this kid's not going to spend money here. You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, if we could have that attitude change just a little bit, like, I do feel like it's not as hard as we think it is to get these kids into it. And to your point about the publishers too,
Yeah.
like I think Marvel and DC, especially the big two, they do themselves a disservice by like creating a new character, right? That could be a key in 10 years. Like the first appearance of Miles Morales is not that old, and it retains value because he's been treated well since. Like he's had his own series, he's been put into movies and into, you know, and given a major role. But they'll come up with a brand new character and cancel their series 6 months later. It's like that first appearance isn't going to be worth a thing. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I think now you're looking at books that, you know, now like the 90s are starting to be a thing. You know what I mean? Collecting that Jim Lee X-Men stuff, like, and there's actually some value there because people who are 30 like myself, we've got a little bit of nostalgia for that, for the 90s.
Totally.
But like there comes a point at which it doesn't feel like there's any new good keys. Like the modern stuff, like it becomes further and further apart that they really treat a new character well, and the onus lies on the publishing companies to, but do, like just like you said, do they care? That's a good question.
Yeah, I think that they're just very short-sighted, and they're just thinking about what can we sell today, and they're like just not concerned with the 10-year plan or whatever that is. Like, so is it selling? No, it's not. Cancel. You know, new number one. Like that's all they're thinking about, which is unfortunate.
Wow,
Yeah.
we don't got time for that. But new number ones, man, I'm scratching my head.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, Caleb, yeah, thanks so much for hopping on, man. It was a great call, great points. You know, hopefully you do make that YouTube video. I think that would be a good thing.
We'll see.
Definitely watch it.
Thanks, I appreciate it. And but like I said, been a fan for a long time. Really appreciate your videos. What you're doing for the community, I think is just excellent. You know what I mean? And I don't blow smoke when I say that I think your videos really, of all the comic books seen on YouTube, really you add the most value, and that's what I really appreciate. So,
thank you. I appreciate you saying that.
Absolutely.
All right, Caleb. See you, man. There he is, Caleb. Great call. Hopefully he makes a YouTube video. We get some, breakdowns of demographics. I feel like it's going to be like all the kids, Pokemon cards. It'll be like Pokemon cards, Magic the Gathering. We're aging, we get into sports cards, and then comic books, we're going to be at the end next to like coins and Hess trucks. All right, Cameron. Ready? There he is.
What's up?
What's going on, man?
Oh, just chilling. I got back from I went to the Arnold Classic this weekend with my dad. It's like the big bodybuilding competition. So.
Oh, like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
Did you compete?
Did I compete?
Yeah.
I got like second. I did all right.
Nice. Yeah. You get
I was
oil up,
tan. My dad was a former like bodybuilder. So.
Oh, really?
So he was.
Oh, nice.
He used to be super into it, and he still like follows, but he hadn't ever been. So yeah, we went, and I was like a Christmas present I got him.
You never gone the bodybuilding kind of route, or never got curious about it?
No, I was a tennis player, so yeah, I don't know. Like if I got too big, I wouldn't be able to swing the racket and stuff. So
yeah,
I wasn't ever going to go down that route. It was funny because I grew up with a gym in my basement. Like my dad used to own a powerhouse gym. And so we got a bunch of equipment that just eventually like loaded up our basement. So I'd have friends come over for the first time and be like, holy smokes, dude, why are you not like huge? I'm like, I don't know. I don't want to be.
Yeah. You got to be able to, move you got to be agile.
But one thing I noticed about the convention, it was literally like San Diego Comic-Con, but for buff dudes. Like, because they had it's in Columbus, and like pretty big convention center and stuff, and they have all the different vendors, and they had like the different bodybuilders and like strongmen like winners and stuff, like just kind of spread out taking pictures and stuff, and just like it was like exactly the same as like any big convention, but with weightlifting stuff. So it was interesting.
Nice.
Like it was cool. So
it's such an super interesting world. But
yeah, and it's niche too. It's like pretty niche, like comics. So yeah, I was just like, I don't know anything here, but it's still cool to see, and it was fun. And they had like a bunch of other events and stuff too. So
nice.
Yeah, but that was and then
now you're gonna get all pumped up about it. Like this is what always happens. Like you go to the thing, and then you're like, you know what? Like I can get into this, like sooner or later you're gonna be on YouTube.
a little bit,
Yeah. You're gonna be looking up like YouTube videos of like bodybuilding competitions, and then the rabbit
Heard
hole.
about this
You know,
Sam Sulek guy or whatever. I've seen him online. It's like this new young kid who's, I don't know, fucking huge.
yeah.
Like literally just massive. And I was right next to him for a point. I'm like, I've seen that guy online, so that's interesting.
Nice. Well, what's going on? What's going on in comic book world? If you guys don't know Cam, Ripstick Comics, we've done some claim sales and stuff. Go follow Ripstick's Instagram. What's going on in your comic book life? You know, what's new?
I got this. I put this up.
Yeah. I'm seeing this new wall right here, which is looking good.
Yeah. So I was stoked about that. So that'll be fun just to kind of swap out books here and there. Some great raw books. So got the combo. I don't know. I'm just waiting for another Marvel movie to come out. I saw the Marvels. I think the Marvels was the first MCU movie I didn't see in the theaters. And it was I think it was more, not that I didn't want to go with someone. I think part of it was circumstantial for me because I just, work's been brutal. And then I have a toddler. So like time wise, I wasn't gonna be able to find time to go see it. So, but
Marvel was like, oh, sorry, go.
But I was just gonna say at the same time, it wasn't the movie that I'm like, oh, I gotta go see in theaters at the same time. So.
Marvel's like, for me too. It was the first MCU movie that I didn't go to watch in the theater. Like I've skipped out on some of the Sony stuff and like some DC stuff. I didn't see Flash. And
you haven't seen Madam Web yet?
I did.
Oh
watch
no, you did.
Madam. Yeah, it was a terrible idea. It was a terrible idea. It was not. It was a very, very slow Sunday, guys. And I was like, you know what? Like maybe it's kind of the train wreck I want to watch. But I did try. I tried to watch the Marvels on Disney Plus.
Yeah,
and I made it like 10 minutes. Like literally from like the first scene, I was just like, this looks like a TV like movie. Like, what is this moon that they're standing on? Like, it looks like a cheap set. Like, I was so uninterested.
Then I gone so far with everything CG now, where it's like you gotta. I don't know. I actually enjoyed the movie. Like, I thought it was decent, but the villain is so lackluster. Darben gives a crap about Darben. I don't. Like, I think the plot was fine. Like, her motivations were fine.
Yeah.
But it's just such a whatever character. No kids are gonna care about Darben. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Why do you think that's the case? That like when they're like, okay, we're gonna make the Marvels movie and we're like setting it up and whatever. Like, why do they go to the Darben well? When they're like, oh, what villain should we have? Like, why wouldn't they like just be like, oh, like, who are some classic iconic villains, whatever, and we'll just like pluck one out and we'll put one in. Like, oh, she can fight, I don't know, like Annihilate. I don't know. Annihilate's a bad example, but you know what I mean? Like, pull out because at least you're gonna get the bump.
Oh, I like that character.
Yeah, at least you're gonna get the bump.
Even just character design. People are just like, oh, that guy's cool.
Yeah.
Oh, she's menacing or whatever. I don't know. There's plenty of even just like with the original Captain Marvel villains that they could dive into. I don't know.
Yeah. Is it just that they're like,
do Super Skrull? I don't know. Like,
one of the characters. I don't know. Are they saving them? Like, are they like, oh, well, we can't pull out Super Skrull because we want to save him for like a big event Fantastic Four movie? Or is it like,
but like, what are you gonna save all the good characters for? And like, why make the Marvels then?
Yeah, it's like you're not gonna get to the big FF movie the way that you keep saving them for later.
Right.
But
like, Fantastic Four has a million amazing villains. So why you got to save Super Skrull? Or like, what would be a good one? I think they're kind of more involved with the X-Men.
I mean, to me, it just seemed like
I can't remember the names of them, but I think that was like a Captain Marvel or even Miss Marvel villain that she would deal with. Those they're kind of like the Xenomorphs a little bit.
The Brood.
Brood. I don't know.
The brew.
Cool.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely cooler than Darben.
I hadn't heard of. I didn't know Darben.
Nobody heard about Darben. It was like a random
what's Darben's
character.
first appearance?
It's a random Silver Surfer issue that became like a hot book for like a week.
Oh,
you know, when it was first like announced, but it was like not even like it's not even a relevant character. Like it just so happened like, oh, here's a Kree,
right?
You know,
like I don't know. It's just frustrating. I just don't know the direction sometimes now.
Yeah. So what do you think about Deadpool? Is Deadpool going to save everything?
It's not going to save everything. It's hype.
Yeah.
People are hyped. I'm hyped. I was like, what books do I put on the wall? It's all just X-Men and Wolverine and Deadpool and stuff. So, because I'm like, like a few of these are out, I'll put these up.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love Wolverine. I like the Deadpool movies. I don't really read Deadpool comics, but yeah, I mean, I'm hyped for the movie. I'm excited, but I don't know. I don't know what's going to save them at this point.
Yeah.
I'm not a pessimist either. I'd say I'm more optimistic because I love it. I love the MCU, and I'm also not the person that's like, oh, it's too. The MCU is just ruining everything. Like I don't really care. Like obviously they've every once in a while they go overboard with some stuff, but
yeah, I think that like my thing with that is it's like, yeah, is that like an element that's like causing bad choices? Like, yeah, that it definitely plays a role. But like if you waved a magic wand and got rid of all the MCU stuff now, like do you think the movies would be good? And the answer to that is no. Like, so there's still problems,
right,
you know, that are going on outside of it. And to me, it's like, I just kind of think I'm optimistic like you are in the sense that I just kind of think the MCU now is sort of like it's like WWE wrestling. Like, is it ever going to go back to like Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior? Probably not. You know, like, right. Is it ever going to be kind of the height of Stone Cold and The Rock? Like, probably not. But like, you know, there might be like a cool kind of like, oh, this is cool. Like Brock Lesnar, like, oh, this is cool again, you know, for like little windows throughout our lives. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of what I think is going to be the trajectory.
Well, and I think I think they were too much. They were trying to make too many things at once too. And I feel like the quality suffered on every level, like visually, like just, I mean, even just like the people working on the CGI and stuff, like all the visual effects people, they were pushed to their limits and everything with all these different projects coming out soon, one or the other. And then I don't know, like character is always one of the most important things to me, and character development and then story, obviously. And I don't know, it's definitely been bland. And
I think the thing that maybe is like the most concerning thing for them is it was when they were firing on all cylinders, it was clearly like a very cool status gig for like cool filmmakers to do, or like cool actors. Like, oh, hey, like, you know, like when Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans and stuff, they're all doing it. Like if you're like a notable actor, like you're a Margot Robbie or you're a Ryan Gosling, like, like I'd love to be, you know, in this. And like now it's kind of like they probably look at it now and Margot Robbie's kind of like, like, I don't know if I want to.
It's just a machine. It's kind of just become, I just feel like they haven't let the creatives fully even do, like, I feel like there was a little more free reign a little bit maybe in the beginning. And then it got to the point where they're so big and the budgets are so high and the expectations are kind of to meet certain standards and stuff. So, you know, the studio might get involved a lot more and with the decision making, it's been like the creative process, and you just start to lose things. And then it's just this machine, and it's not really this creative product with cool comic book characters anymore. It's like, it's just kind of whatever. So and that's why like James Gunn has been so successful. I feel like he's fully invested in the characters. Like one, he's a comic book fan, which I think this has probably been mentioned, but there's been a lot of the creative teams that don't have any background in any comic books or the characters from they know nothing, and then they don't read anything going into it either. And so they don't really care about the characters. They're just kind of getting paid to make this product. And they're like, it's not that they don't care about what they're making, but at the same time, they're not super interested. And like James Gunn not only has that background of knowledge, but I don't know. I feel like they let him do his thing more too, like creatively for these movies, especially because he was so successful. Right. And I don't know. And it's benefited from it. And
yeah, I just think, this is maybe like a slightly unpopular thing to say, but just from my perspective as someone who's like written for IPs and stuff, like I don't always work on stuff that I can say like I know the source material.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? Like, but so I don't think you have to get comic book writers. Like you don't have to get Chris Claremont to like do the
right.
You don't have to like get people who are like obsessed with the stuff, but they have to respect the material and they have to look to it for inspiration and try to find what they connect with from it and like say like, oh, I like this. Like, how do I translate it? Right. And it really does feel like, the clips of people that were like, oh, I never read the comics and blah, blah, blah. They're very, very dismissive, which feels like, that's not operating from a good place right there.
Right.
Because even if you're not a historian, that's okay. But you still have to kind of have like treat it with reverence and all that. And
well, I just don't know why they don't like, why is, because Kevin Feige, I think he's always had probably a pretty good knowledge of the comics and stuff. And so he probably could help with direction and ideas and stuff and know characters well and like maybe what to do. And then I don't know if it got to the point where he's just so like bogged down with everything that he can't even really be a part of that process as much anymore.
Yeah.
And then
I mean, I know from talking to people, like I know a few people who are at Marvel Studios, and he's way spread too thin. Like he doesn't have eyes on every project, and the reality is like, if you guys know, I mean, you work in a corporate office and stuff, like all this stuff is based on calendar, right? Like on our calendar, Q2 release, blah, 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 whatever. And so the machine is going, like everything's going. So like, it doesn't matter if all of a sudden he just like catches wind of like, wait, what are they doing in the Echo show? And he's like, wait, I don't like this. And it's like, well, we already like
it's done. We made it.
We already hired the costumer to build all the costumes for the blah, blah, blah scene. And he's just kind of like, okay, whatever.
Right.
Like, who cares? So like it's way bigger than it's gotten bigger than probably he can handle in that sense. And now that things have tanked and stuff, like obviously they have to cancel projects, and then you have like the all hands huddle up, meeting, and then all of a sudden, when things are not turning profit, like you can be a little more militant. He can, and that which is probably what's happening now, where he's like, nothing gets greenlit without me anymore. And
less projects because of it, because he's going to have to have the time to be able to be a little bit more involved. I just wonder like do they have like a think tank? Because is their think tank, do they have a comic historian person?
So I don't know if they have it, that they should have it. I've worked with big companies that handle big IPs and stuff. And when I do a screenplay for it, it's like, there's a historian person that I've been able to talk to, but though not every company has that. So you would think that Marvel would have somebody who's in their building that's like, oh, this guy knows like every single character. Like
I don't know if you know Rob from Comics Explained.
Yeah.
Like I followed him forever, and he's such a wealth of knowledge and so passionate about like all of the characters except for Black Bolt. That's like a meme that he like Black Bolt or whatever. He says he sucks. It's hilarious every time he says it. And, but I don't know. I just think like having him, Marvel doesn't have to like have him on salary, but just I don't know, contract this guy. I think he would be more than willing to help and just feel such a wealth of knowledge and just say, oh, well, this character does this and then this happens. And this, I don't know if that would work because of this. And obviously it's not like he's creating everything, but just the understanding and the wealth of knowledge with the characters and stories. I don't know. It'd just be like a cool resource. And I don't know.
It seems like they should do it. Like if that person doesn't exist, because it's really helpful actually to have that, you know? So I know that they have in-house teams. They do pre-development there. They do like character designs and stuff. And like when movies, you know, they build their world guides and like they have their decks and stuff of like, here's the characters, here's their family, here's their arch nemesis, here's their heroes that they have relationships with, here's who we think the character is, you know. And so you have these Bibles that internal people there in Viz Dev, they like build this stuff. And so you think that those people know the source material or whatever, but like, who knows? Like at the end of the day, if
but then we got Darben as a
but then, you know, like if someone comes in like, I really want to go with Darben, like, I mean, I guess they'll just
like, I don't know, she's came out and I don't know. I don't know. So I'm always thinking about movies though, because just like, you know, being in the industry just for the little, you know, part of my life to the smallest extent with me, but still, you know, being a part of it a little bit. And I'll always love movies and TV shows and seeing how, and comics is my other, obviously, number one love. So like those coming together, I'll always just be super fascinated with it. So
yeah, well, I wish Marvel was still cool because I would get Denis Villeneuve to do Secret Wars because I think he's like the Patrick Mahomes of directors. Like he's just directing on a different level than anyone else working today.
They won't get him though.
No, they won't, because why would he do it? It'd be not cool for him.
Especially because it's not cool now. So I don't know. It's interesting, even with like current writers for Marvel and stuff. Even them, they're not historians, and a lot of them I don't think are as big, like huge fans of comics, but they kind of get into it to an extent. Like I feel like in past, just based on what I've heard from other like prior creators, like old, like a long time ago, they were huge fans of the characters and stories their whole lives, and then it was their dream to become comic book artists or writers,
right? And
so they had that knowledge and passion for these characters, and then a lot of times it would lead to really cool stories and stuff happening. So now I feel like a lot of the writers maybe like it a little bit, or like they just see it more as an opportunity. I don't know, and I'm not so well versed, but my limited understanding, I feel like that's the case a little bit.
I think it's just definitely it's just a cool gig to get. You know, your agent is like, hey, this Marvel's looking for this writer, Cameron. Just pitch on it. Just pitch on it. I don't know anything about comics. I don't know. I don't like comic books. Right. And then it's a big job. Just go in and talk to Kevin. Just go in and talk to him. And then like that, you know, they force you in there. So, and you'd be kind of dumb to like not take it.
Yeah. Yeah. But anywho, that's my spiel with these and the comics. So the card stuff was interesting though. Like, cause I'm not a card. I definitely don't have a background in cards. I collected some as a kid, but I was just thinking with comics, they're kind of competing against all, especially like with kids, like getting kids to get into comics. They're kind of competing with every other thing. So like Marvel, for example, do you spend money on a toy or a video game or Legos are toys, I guess, kind of, but I don't know. There's a million other things but with sports cards, I guess there's still the video games, but other than that, the cards are it, right? Plus, then there's the.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think like I just think sports has like a better pipeline because it's like
yeah,
you have the cards, you have like say Madden, you know, or FIFA, like the game, and then people get into sports betting and then they watch football. Like so it's like you have like the perfect like, oh, this hits all age demos in
and
a
the
way.
kids can't get into sports betting yet, so they get
Yeah.
into
They get into cards and then
Right.
they play Madden and they bet people online and then they get into
Right.
sports betting and fantasy football and then they watch, you know.
right.
All right, sir. Well, I think it might be the last call, end of the show.
Oh shoot!
But
Yeah.
good times, you know, good talks.
Oh yeah, are you what conventions are you doing? Some conventions and stuff. Are you going anywhere this year?
I will definitely be. I'll be at WonderCon is kind of the next one. It's at the end of this month.
Okay.
That's in Anaheim. I'll definitely go to San Diego Comic-Con.
Right.
What else is coming up? I want to go to New York. I want to go to maybe Heroes because everyone says it's good.
Okay.
Maybe C2E2 if you're going to be there. I mean,
I'm going to be there.
Oh, really?
As of like last week, I'm going to be there. I'm going to be working.
Really? Where are you working?
So a buddy of mine in the community, he has a comic book art business. It's Comics Art Connect, and yeah. So I was just chatting with him. I actually bought like a piece from him, and which is another rabbit hole that I've been getting down.
Dude, I gotta say, guys, I've been going really hard into like the original art, like just looking and I'm window shopping right now,
dude.
But I can tell like
on too.
Don't hate me. I'm ready to like I'm gonna sell everything and just go like I'm just gonna buy it
because it's so expensive. You have to sell everything.
Yeah. I'm just gonna the OA is I can I'm going hard on it. So hopefully I want to have like more maybe videos and stuff, or maybe I can like invite people who are experts on it to like talk about it. But I can
give you his information too if you want to talk with him.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I've just been in contact with him for a few years now since I got like kind of back into it, and then he's like really been and adding a lot of artists to his like his group of stuff that he gets commissions and gets their art and sells and stuff. So he's like continuing to expand, and so I was just chatting. He invited me to help him out at C2E2. So
nice. Okay, well maybe when is C2E2?
It's end of April.
Okay.
So
maybe.
Yeah. I wonder if you could still get in as a like get a what is it, the badge for like
I have to like apply to it.
That pass or whatever.
I'll take a look. But shout out to Nando. Gonna be at WonderCon. If you guys don't know Nando Night, go give him a follow. I think he might have a little booth thing there, and I might be hanging out there. That's at the end of this month.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll see if I can get out there. I'll definitely let you know, and I'll have to apply for a badge or something.
Okay. If not, you gotta maybe just come out for a trip to Michigan in the summer or something. We'll go out in my parents' boat in the lake or something.
That sounds like a good time.
Cool.
All right, Cameron. Thanks so much for hopping on, man.
All right.
We'll talk soon.
All right. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Well, folks, that was it. That was the call-in show. We had some great calls, some great guests. I think it was a success. You know, nobody flashed their chest while we were streaming. Nobody did anything inappropriate to get me banned. What more could I have asked for, right? Thanks again for hanging, guys. Really, really appreciate it. Oh, here we go. Nando Night, booth 503. If you're going to WonderCon, I'll be there. So go check it out. But yeah, thanks again, guys, for hanging out. Really, really appreciate it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the show. Hopefully you guys enjoy this format of like the call-in show. I feel like it's always good because, you get people on, they talk about different things that I'm not thinking about. It's always good to hear what people are discussing. So yeah, hopefully we can have more of these. And, if you're out there and, you want to participate in the next one, definitely do so. But before I go, let me do a little bit of housekeeping. housekeeping stuff. You know, if you could, if you're not subscribed to my channel, subscribe to my channel. That would be appreciated. And then also, I have a Kickstarter comic book coming out. It's called Sanity. It's coming out soon, maybe in the next week or two. We'll see. I'm waiting on a little thing. You know, one of my artists was at Emerald City this past weekend. So he was a little bit busy. He's got to finish up the thing, and then we'll be ready to go. But hey, go follow the pre-launch page if you're interested in checking it out. I would appreciate it. Other than that, thanks so much for hanging out tonight, guys. Thanks for watching. We'll see you all in the next call-in show and the next stream. Later, guys.